Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to Late Night with Travis Michelle. Yours truly, Travis Michelle. I know you're saying, what's up with the background? I've always liked my kitchen, and so I'm going to start doing my IGs and my lives on Facebook and stuff, and using my background with my kitchen. So it's been renovated. I like it. This is what I'm going to do. So I decided to just go ahead and start with this. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Going over here to the comment section. If you'll put your name in, if you have not signed up with StreamYard, I will not know who you are. So you can just type in your name because I see we have someone on here. Thank you so much for joining us today. I so appreciate you. So tonight's going to be a little different. Um, for those of you who are new to my YouTube channel, please subscribe. I have to keep saying that. I keep forgetting. Um, it's Travis Michelle. I am the expert confidence coach. I'm also a late night host, of course, with Travis Michelle. In addition to that, I'm an international bestselling author times two. Woo woo, times two. Hi, Barbara. Thank you so much for popping in. And I'm also a speaker. So that's me in a nutshell. But we'll go through more stuff. Tonight I wanted to talk about my journey, my cervical cancer journey, because people ask me questions all the time. And I said, you know what? It's March. It's International Women's Month. So I'm going to just share tonight, because I can, about myself. I think that we don't give enough attention as women, and especially women of color, Latinx, Indian, Asian communities, and Black women. We don't talk enough about it. We do we do the hush, but we want to talk about everything else, but we don't want to really talk about cervical cancer. We have breast cancer, right? We have colon cancer, we have heart disease. We talk about everything else except this. And I'm guilty of it. And my day job, I'm a registered nurse, my silent investor as a registered nurse. And I didn't really touch on cervical cancer. You don't really hear too much about cervical cancer. And so I just wanted to kind of share tonight how it happened for me. Like, people are like, when did you find out? What did you do? And, I'm not offended by the questions. I'm like, hey, I'm being transparent. The only way that we can bring awareness is to talk about it. If we keep quiet, it's going to continue to ravage our communities. So I was looking here at my phone and I was like, okay, so what's the exact date? So I ended up in, I think it was July, with kidney stones. And when they examined me and stuff, and I've never had kidney stones, my family never had kidney stones, no history of it. They said, oh, but we see you have a fibroid. So I'm all about that life. Well, let's get that fibroid out of there. And my friend, who's also a doctor, said, no, I think you need to go to the GYN first. How about you just start there and then go and see about getting the fibroid out later? So I said, okay. Now, I will tell you, I have not been prior to this, I had not been to the GYN in years. And some people are going to be so shocked. Oh, you got to take care of yourself, And a lot of times the main folk talking about it, don't go to the doctor. Okay. Nurses and doctors are one of those. We don't like doing it. Okay. We just don't. We take care of everybody else. And we're real, not all of us, but some of us are a little lax in taking care of ourselves. And in our brown communities, we're so busy. We have to survive. We have to work. We have to take care of the children. Even if we're in a relationship, we're still head of household because you're in charge, right? You're that domestic engineer. So I was like, okay, well then, because I didn't have a GYN since I had moved back to New York City, it takes time. The wait post, well, it's not post-COVID, but with COVID now, 2021, people starting to go back to the doctor, you have to wait months. So I had to wait a long time. I'm talking 3 months to get my appointment. And during this time, I'm riding my bike 3 times a week. Since 2020, I started riding my bike 2 to 3 times a week from New York City. From Queens to Manhattan. And it's 14 miles round trip. And I was having some bleeding, bleeding. And I thought it was hitting the speed bumps, or I was going over the speed bumps slowly. or potholes. Sometimes you just can't avoid potholes, whether you're on the sidewalk or the street. NYC is pothole city, you know. And I was like, ooh, let me learn, you know, stand up. I wear my biker shorts. I didn't know what the heck was going on. And so I kind of ignored it and said, well, I have an appointment with the doctor. We'll see what happens. And when I was going for my exam, and remember now, we're late night with Travis Michelle. Right? This is why I'm at 10 o'clock and not 10 a.m. so that we can do real talk. This is the ugly side. This is a true ugly side of the back story, right? So what the doctor said during the exam, which is very traumatic for me because I have a traumatic sexual background, and I don't like going to the doctor. So that's why. So some of y'all be like, why didn't you go to the doctor? That's why. And that's not talked about enough either. We'll do that on another show where people don't share that because of the traumatic sexual background, they will not go to the doctor because it's PTSD for us. But I had my family friend there, and she held my hand, and the nurse held my hand, and the doctor coached me through the exam. And it was very difficult. It was extremely painful because by this time I could barely sit down without pain. And I thought that it was an injury. It's called the piriformis muscle in your butt that crosses over to your pelvic area. I thought that's what it was. So I was going to physical therapy, doing a little thumper, stretching. And they said the way it'll get better is if you continue riding your bike. So I kept riding my bike, even though I was in 20 out of 10 pain, but I never said anything. I took some Tylenol and kept it moving. So the doctor was like, you know what? We're not going to say what it is. We're not going to say it's cancer or anything, but you know, you should not have bleeding like this from an exam. So let's just take pathology. I was like, okay. And in my head, literally, it was like, I know it's going to be some kind of cancer, right? I'm a nurse, so you know enough to know. And I was like, but you know what? God, you got me. I'm not going to claim it. I'm just going to keep moving, keep going. And so that's what I did. Well, when the pathology came back, my doctor called me and she goes, so what are you doing tomorrow at 11 o'clock? It was a Thursday. And I was like, she says, are you available? I said, yes, I'm available. She says, okay, because I want you to see the oncologist. It came back positive for cervical cancer. But until we have the definitive, I want her, who's a oncologist, to also check it. But we're moving forward. And, you know, it's like you hear the C word, because, you know, my grandma used to say, it's the C word. She didn't want to call it cancer. The first thing, no matter who you are, a lot of times, not everybody, you think death. How much longer, you know, what's going to happen? How much longer am I going to live? That kind of thing. Meanwhile, we shed, we die every day. And I said, okay, no problem. She says, but I don't want you to, I want you to sleep tonight. We're going to, I think you're in a good space. So let's just wait and see. So that next morning, I go to see the gynecology oncologist, and her name is Dr. Gockley, because she's going to be a guest on here next week, she and Dr. Chen. And she was wonderful. And I'll say Dr. Her was my gynecologist. And she was like, look, I'm giving you in good hands, but this is out of my spectrum of care, my scope of care. And I was like, okay, I said my prayers about it. And it was like, look, until they tell me something definitive and the staging and stuff, I'm the type, I'm just going to try not to worry about it. So I did have a friend go with me, and my daughter and another friend were on the phone with me as support. And she was so thorough. And she says, I do want you to know, I'm going to do an exam and I have to take biopsies. And I'm thinking, biopsies? In my head, all I heard was pain because they hurt. And I was like, in your office? You're not going to knock me out? You don't want me to go like into OR or something? She says, well, what I'm going to do, because I know your background, we can try here, or we can set up a date and then you have to go under anesthesia and stuff. And I sat there and I was like, no, I'm going to give it a try. And she says, okay, if it's uncomfortable, we're going to stop. And then we can go the other route. I was like, okay. Meanwhile, my daughter tells me later, Mom, I was going to tell you to suck it up, put your big girl panties on because, everybody's nervous. So I was able to make it through the biopsy. It was painful. It was rough, but I was able to do it because I also didn't want to hold off and not know what was going on. And a week after that, that's when Dr. Gockley said, I need to have a conference call with you and your family. And I was like, okay. So my daughter was always there. My other friend, Leontine, was there on the phone. And Dr. Gockley actually made the appointment. So it would be more, y'all, the chemo brain words will just leave me and I stutter. That's just part of this process that I have to get used to. So she says, it'll be, if your family, I know everybody works. So how about 5:30? And I was like, really? You're going to do it that late? She says, absolutely. And when I tell you, we had the three of us on, we were on FaceTime and she went over everything. She had pictures, showed me the cervix, my ovaries, the vagina, everything, so that I would see, my uterus, what we were looking at. And yes, I'm a registered nurse, but guess what? I was a patient. So everything I learned, you have it back here, but right now up here, it's like, okay, I got cervical cancer. What's the next step? When I tell you, Dr. Gockley was so thorough. She went over each section, was able to tell me, like the staging, because I had to have an MRI as well. And she says, but guess what? Your treatment, she goes, you're curable. So your treatment is for curative. That means that for it to be gone. Not how much time do you have? Let's try to just keep you comfortable. She says, no, absolutely not. Hi, Wendy. Thank you for popping in. So I'm just so excited, and it sounds crazy. Like, didn't you just diagnosed with cancer? But I heard the doctor told me curative. That's what I held on to. Now, my daughter was just kind of knocked out. She didn't cry on the phone or anything, but she did tell me later, like, Ma, I just wasn't expecting that. It just took her out. But my team was supportive of me. Now, I have to tell you, after that call, I had to then set up, I try not to get so emotional, but I had to set up a call with my two sons and my daughter. So all of us would be on there, the four of us together. And she's like, Ma, I don't need to be on the phone because I already know. And I was like, no, I want all of us together. And so we did another FaceTime because I wanted them to know immediately about it. It was that night. And I shared. And it's so funny because hi, Edith, my sons immediately, they're like, Ma, that goes with your story. That's just added to your story. When you go out to speak, now you have that to add. You're going to be fine. Now, they grew up in a home. God is first. They were acolytes at church. They were in Sunday school. I was a Sunday school teacher, missionary, all of that. So they know the Lord for themselves. And they were like, oh, you're going to be good. How could I not be okay? Right? Because I was crying because I had to tell my babies. I was crying because how are they going to feel? I was in tears and snotting and carrying on before speaking with them because my close friends, I'm not talking about, the hey from out of the circle, but my inner circle, how are they going to feel? I was so concerned with how they were going to take it and how they would feel and how they would process it. Then I went through 3 days of sheer anger. I never asked God, why me? I was just like, God, look, okay, you know I'm out here being a speaker, so you waylaid what I was doing. So clearly we have to shift this a little bit. But there's no way I'm going to be able to tell people about my journey, my testimony if I'm dead. So what is your plan? Tell me the plan, God, so I can be on point and be aware. And it was like, he said, you shall live and not die. It's curative. So I then had to make a decision. Am I going to stay and fight? Or am I going to stay curled up, mad? Here I try to do things right, and other people, evil and all this. You think of all kind of things, and then why not why me, but you're still angry. And then I was angry with myself. Why didn't you go to the doctor sooner? Travis, Michelle, why did you wait so long? So I beat myself up 3 days, only 3 days, but they were the longest 3 days of my life. And then I had to like snap out of it. Wait a minute. Can I go back and change anything? Not one thing. But I do have the opportunity to make a choice, an intentional choice about what I'm going to do moving forward. So I was like, look, God, I've been through, we've been through some stuff. And each time you brought me through. So I'm not giving up on you now. You need to show up and show out. I'm asking for discernment. You own my life. You own my business. So let's go. You're going to have to open doors. And it's so amazing because, and I'm using the word amazing, which I don't like to use, but it really is amazing because he had my medical team in place, like perfect, in place. My gynecologist, oncologist then called, and on the call with my daughter and my friend, she was like, well, you're going to be followed by a radiation oncologist because I have to go through radiation as well. And I'm like, okay. She says, but look, she would have called you ahead of me. So I have to tell you now. And her name is Dr. Chen. And like I said, the two of them are going to be on here as guests. So I trust her. You're going to be in good hands. And we are not going to leave your side. And I get real emotional about that because as a registered nurse, yes, there are doctors who are compassionate, but they all don't have bedside manner. Black, white, purple, green, male, female, does not matter. They all don't have bedside manner. And this is something, one, yes, it's cervical cancer. Get it. It's cancer. Two, this is my purse we're talking about. Like, what's going to happen? Right? So when I decided to, one, say, okay, we're just going to roll through this. Tell me what's the next step? Because I got to be ready. Right. And that's what my family did. And my kids, Sasha, Akil, and Khalik, and y'all will know their names forever. They were supportive. They were right there. And we think sometimes that our children are supposed to take care of us, right? They didn't ask to come here, but we still think they're supposed to take care of us. And sometimes some of us can be horrible parents, never apologize, and just as mean as rattlesnakes. And still, then when something happens serious in their life, then all of a sudden, like, why aren't you taking care of me? Or they can have 300 to 1,500 kids, and you have one that will help you. And here I have three children, and all three of them, we were a bond together. And they talk about me behind my back. I know they do, because I'll say something to one, they're like, oh yeah, we know about that already. And I was like, oh, they already had started making plans because they have their own chat group. So I was covered. And then people were praying for me because I didn't want to hide it at first. But let me tell you something. If it was up to me, y'all wouldn't be hearing about it until like, later. But because I'm listening to God and knowing that this is part of my testimony, this journey, I was like, you got to share it. There are women who are not going to the doctor, who are afraid. And cervical cancer is curable. When it's caught early, it's really curable. And I'm stage 3B and it's still curable, right? So there are different modalities, meaning some people have surgery and then they have chemoradiation. I've had radiation 5 weeks, Monday through Friday of radiation, external. And there was 5 weeks of chemotherapy, but I could only do 4. My body was like, that's it. After the 4th one was done. I had like my counts, my lab work, some of the numbers were 0. So if I sneezed on myself, I would have been sick. And after that, you have another scan, and then I had to have internal high dose radiation. But we'll get to that. Thank you so much, guys, for hanging in. Please share this video. Please put on their replay. Um, Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have this out on YouTube as well because this has to be spoken about. And I am determined to bring awareness to cervical cancer and women that look like me. Yeah, our Latinx, our Indian, our Asian um, sisters, this is curable, but we have to get to the doctor and go ahead and get that HPV vaccine. It is important. So now I've been told I have cancer. I have stage 3B. I know that I have to go through grueling treatment. And look, we know what grueling and aggressive means. Yeah, well, this is a different grueling and a different aggressive. I wasn't ready. I thought I was ready though. See, I was mentally ready, but let me tell you something. My body is like, what's going on? Yeah. But I stayed in it. I continued to show up for myself. And, during the process, right before it, I was supposed to publish a journal. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to still do it. That's when I wasn't thinking clearly. That's what I say. And my family and my girlfriend, Tiffany Teachy from Aspire Authors, she's like, you sure? I said, yes, I'm going to do it anyway. It's the early part, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And they were like, okay. Well, going through radiation, I was getting tired. I'm going to tell you, I was tired. I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do? And they were like, I need this deliverable. My daughter helped me pick out my my colors and stuff for, not my colors, but the front of the journal. She looked through it. You're too wordy, Ma. I'm like, I have cancer. Don't, be gentle with me. I'm being transparent, and I'm using humor because that's what got me through. When people ask me what got me through, it was God, it was humor, it was my support group. That it really was. And she was like, you're too wordy. Tiffany's like, Sasha, you came in just in time because I wanted to say that to your mother, but I didn't want to hurt her feelings. And I'm like, oh, so you ganging up on me? Y'all haven't even met in person, and you ganging up on me? I'm the patient over here. But guess what? Because they supported me, and I made the decision to do this. They didn't push me into it, but they pushed me along the way. They supported me along the way. Sometimes they had to drag me a little bit. And I was like, Tiffany was like, look, we got to get this out. And I was like, okay, all right. Well, guess what? Here it is. Boss Up with Confidence. And it's on Amazon under my publishing company, Ask TT Publishing, because my grandchildren call me TT. And Ask is what? Akil, Sasha, Khalid, my children. And it's a 30-day journal to help you gain back your confidence one step at a time. Sometimes we want to jump ahead. Like, I want to jump ahead. I already want to be next year, but I can't. I have to go through the steps. I have to go through the journey. So I'm sharing this with you because this is what I've used in life, my walk method. And I developed this walk methodology, willing participant. Finding out I have cervical cancer, finding out what the treatment plan is. I am single. I live in a home. I live in NYC. I have a dog. I have to take care of myself. It snows in the winter. I can't shovel the snow. All of this stuff is coming in my head. Like, who's going to help me with it? And I wasn't even thinking who was going to help me. I was thinking, how am I going to do it? Because I don't want to bother somebody else. Right? But remember, I had already made a decision. I'm not going to curl up in a ball. So that willing participant, I had to say, okay, you got to stay present. You have to be intentional. You're going to have to do, some work. So get your life together, snap out of it. Let's go. Then that action step. Look, I went on the American Cancer Society. I went on a whole lot of things trying to find out information. I went on other sites in hospitals, Memorial Sloan Kettering. I went on MD Anderson. And then I just, of course, I looked at the hospital that I'm with is New York Presbyterian, Columbia. There's a difference. There's one uptown, 168th Street. So to see, is the treatment the same? I went on forums. I was reading, and anything that was negative, if people were whining and complaining, I was like, "Ooh, gotta." I went to the next person until I could find people that were positive. And I ended upon cancer.org, wonderful organization. When I tell you they answer the phone, they don't talk to you like you're sick. They answer your questions. They give you resources, and that's so important. That is really, really important. So that was the action steps. Going on cancer.org, I knew I needed to have a therapist because Michelle, who is a breast cancer survivor, is a good friend of mine. And she's like, you need to go to therapy. And I'm like, okay, do I? All right. And I went ahead. I said, you know what? You're right. I do. Because I've never had cancer before. I don't know what to expect. This is a lot. And I'm over here I got to do all this stuff on, set stuff up on my own. Even though I have a circle, it's still, it's me and my 5-pound dog Steeler. So there are going to be emotions and things come up. And speaking to my friends and my circle is great. But there's just certain things they're not going to understand. And I'm not going to want to tell them because I'm not going to want them to worry. So that action step was getting a therapist. That's right. Hooking myself up with a therapist, which is like life. Hair. I was told my hair is not going to fall out. Oh, okay, with this chemotherapy. But you know what? I'm special. I'm one of those special folk. Okay. So I started shedding. So I had to start thinking, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to wear your hair? I was trying, guys. Y'all saw me and I had my little fuzz. I was putting makeup on stuff. Y'all didn't even know what behind the scenes was going on. So that's your action steps. And I wanted to speak about it. So I shared what I was, that I had cervical cancer. I couldn't come on social media as much because I was tired. Radiation treatment, the fatigue is ridiculous. As tired as you think you are, you take that times 10. And that's what radiation treatment does over time. It's the same amount, but it builds up over those 5 weeks. So I was jumping in there like this week 1 to 1.5 when I had to publish this journal, Boss Up with Confidence. I was laid out on the couch like I crashed. I had nothing. I couldn't get off the couch. I couldn't think. I was nauseous. I was a hot mess. I mean, I was a hot to the mess. And it scared my family and my friends because they've never seen me that way. They've always seen me like get up, even if something's happening. Look, I'm still strong. I'm talking. I was knocked down. And I had to be able to be vulnerable and transparent. And I was. Now, the L part for me going through this cervical cancer, thank you for those who are popping in. I don't see your names, but I do see the numbers going up. So thank you so much. I had to forgive myself. Remember, I talked about that in the beginning. I had to forgive Travis Michelle. I had to forgive Travis Michelle for not being the best mother. Because I don't care how good you think you are, your kids can always tell you stuff you ain't do right. But when you're sitting back and you're looking at your life, because cancer kind of makes you do that. Not everybody, but for me, it did. I had to sit back and I went over my life. Okay, it didn't flash before me. I went over my life, what I could have done, should have done, what I should have done better. And I had to go and forgive myself for those things because it was dead weight. It was weighing me down. And if I'm going to have my armor on and be ready to fight, I couldn't have all that dead weight with me. So I had to forgive Travis Michelle. I had to, apologize. And I'm being extremely transparent. My daughter probably killed me. But I had to apologize to my daughter for some things that she told me that I really wasn't even aware of. And I really don't remember. But I had to apologize to her. Can I tell you that has changed our relationship? I had to apologize to the little girl, Travis Michelle, who was beat down, told she wouldn't be nothing by her parents, bullied in school and through different traumas in life. I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive myself for wanting to be part of the circle and part of the group, whether it was at church or it was at my job, or it was in another organization, or just meeting people. So being that people pleaser, and people still ignoring me or pushing me aside. I'm qualified, but they still push me aside because, I wasn't part of the clique. I've never been that clique chick. Never have. I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive myself for not going to the doctor. I had to forgive myself for my diet. I just ran it down for not spending enough time with God and just everything. I just went down and I had that time and that talk with God. But because I forgave myself, can I tell you that freed me up? Yeah, part of that loving yourself. When you say love yourself, everybody doesn't know what that looks like. It's nice to say though, isn't it? But if you haven't, I had the best grandparents in the world. You see, I'm wearing my pearls in honor of my grandma tonight. But it wasn't my mother and father. They rejected me. So I had to go through that process and loving myself, forgiving myself, right? Because forgiving yourself is loving yourself. I had to make a conscious decision to make Travis Michelle number one priority. Parents, stop making your children your number one priority. They are your priority. You have to be number one because you can't take care of them if you don't take care of yourself. Can't pour from an empty cup. Now, they're a priority now, but you have to make yourself a priority. We have to change the narrative so that our children, our young boys and our young girls see, oh, it's okay to take care of ourselves. Because see, when we keep taking care of other people and putting ourselves last, that's what we're teaching them to do. And that you're selfish if you take care of yourself first. No, you're not. You're actually healthy and it's good for your mental health. And so forgiving myself, right, leads to freedom and redemption. So I'm ready to walk. That's why I was able to smile every day. And let me tell you, in Manhattan, where the hospital is, I had to walk up two inclines. They're hills. They ain't no incline. One's an incline, the other is a mucking hill. And because it's very hilly up there. And I had to do it every day. And I was like, in the beginning, hey, I was going. I was, what? That week point 1.5, I had slowed down. When I tell you by week 5, I was just barely, I was doing it because I drove myself 22 out of the 25 radiation treatments, I drove myself. The doctors were like, we don't know how you're doing it. And my daughter came with me the first 3 weeks for the chemotherapy. And they were like, I was like, Sasha, I feel bad because I'm not able to walk up these hills. And she's like, Ma, nah, this is rough. I'm huffing and puffing. I don't know how you do this every single day, but I did it. But see, I was freed. And that determination, I don't have time to sit back and woe is me. I got to get this done because this is my life. I'm priority number one. So I had to put that cape on for me, for Travis Michelle. And I can tell you, I'm so happy because Michelle is popping in, who is my accountability partner. She's also a breast cancer survivor. She's going to ask me some questions in a little bit too. But hi, Dr. Yolanda. Thank you so much for popping in. But I had to be able to get up that hill. And let me tell you, it's about 3/4 of a mile from the time I park my car and then go out of the garage, up the first incline, and then up that big hill. And then I still have to walk almost a block because the blocks in New York are really long. And then get through the hospital, then walk through the hospital. Oh my gosh. After that, and then take an elevator. Let me tell you, it comes out to like 1.5 miles. But you know how I made it up every day? Sasha, Akil, Khalid, Rain, Aubrey, Christian, Ethan. my children and my grandchildren. I said their names. And I didn't share that with them until later at the end, that that's how I made it up. And I get emotional because I was thinking, I'm not living just for me. I'm not trying to just survive for me and to share my story. I have to be here for my children. I have to be here for my grandchildren. I have to be an example and a role model for them. Because God, you said I shall live and not die, and this is curable. So why am I going to try to act and live like it's over? So I got to get up here and I could do this, you know? And even though I was riding 14 miles 3 times a week, let me tell you, it just seemed like I had never worked out in my life. Like I was a hot mess. And when I would get to the top of the hill, it didn't matter, snowing, rain, sleet, I would do my Rocky. And by the time the 5th week came and I was like just this. Before I was like, yeah, I made it to the top. And it was just like, yeah, I made it. But I kept pushing and I didn't give up. So then we come to K, kick butt unapologetically. I can get up here and I don't have to apologize for anything. You want to talk about my past or something, that's on you. Boo, have at it. But I'm not going to have you in my space because I have been able to forgive myself, which led to freedom, to redemption. And I don't have to live that life. I don't. My daughter said to me, she's like, Ma, that was the old you. This is the new and improved you. Do you know what it's like for your adult child to recognize and you be able to even have that conversation with them? So that was just so special to me. So what I want to do right now is take a break and have Michelle come in. Michelle, are you ready, Queen? I'm going to add you to the stream. Look up.
Ready.
How are you? Let me tell you. You know, I was telling you guys about having your circle tight. So Michelle and I, we worked together. And when she was going through her journey with breast cancer, you know, I was like, I'm praying for you. I was always saying a kind word and stuff. And when I got this diagnosis, I was like, God, you know, my family, I love my family and my friends, but I need somebody who's been through. Yes, I said been through. I didn't say through. I said through. And when I contacted Michelle, she's like, girl, I'm on Team Service. Michelle, what? She's about it. We're gonna do this. You're gonna have this symptoms. This is this. You're gonna be fine. You getting through this. It's curative. Boom. It was like a whirlwind. It was like a breath of fresh air because she would understand radiation, how I would feel. I'm not doing it so much now because when I go to speak, for some reason, and you know, I pray over it and I don't stutter that much. And the brain fog, no, I've been struggling with that. I've just been hiding it because you know, you learn how to adjust and live that new life for a while. It will get a lot better. But she came in and she just has been there for me. When I rang the bell, as you'll see on my Instagram and on my Facebook, you know who was doing the TikTok? That was Michelle. She was like, oh, I'm not going to let you ring the bell by yourself. My daughter has a new job and she was working nights and she has her kids and her children and, you know, I mean, her husband and all this stuff. And my sons live out of state. She's like, I'm not going to let you do that by yourself. And she brought me flowers. Let me tell you. And then you saw my team, my doctors. They were like dancing, we had a celebration, right? Now I can tell you, I had to sleep for 2 days after that. I was like, Michelle, how long was this video? 2 minutes? She goes, it was 30 seconds. The other one was 40 seconds, which I'm going to be posting this week. And I was like, to me, it was like 30 minutes because I was wiped out, but I was so excited. Right. So that's what that WALK method is about. And I use myself now because God is like, okay, so I'm going to give you something that you can use for this WALK instead of like, oh, well, if you're going through this. Now it's applicable whether you're going through a divorce, whether you've had a loss if you have a new job, health issue, anything in your life. This is a great tool and it's quick. You don't have to, it doesn't take you like 50 million, 100 years. And you can go through it. And Michelle ordered, and she's had her women's group go through it as well. So Michelle Anderson Benjamin, hey, Queen, introduce yourself. How are you doing?
I'm fine. A little tired. but I'm fine.
Thank you so much. I was the last minute. I said, you want to come on with me and ask me some questions? So go ahead and ask me some questions.
I know I got my list ready for you.
Oh my, see, that's what I'm talking about. Go ahead. I'm ready.
All right. So, first I want to commend you and applaud you. Um, as a sister in cancer, I know it's extremely hard to share your story. And in our world, a lot of people don't share their story. It's not until people like us step up to the podium and start speaking, and then you find out that multiple people in the room had the same journey as you, but were too shameful or too scared to share their story. And they felt empowered by your story and you've given them encouragement to speak. So I would just want to commend you for that, Queen.
Thank you.
And I want to applaud you. I want to tell you how proud I am of you. Because, no one wants to hear those words, you have cancer, especially when you're sometimes the person telling that to someone else.
Right.
And it's hard being on the other side of the table and knowing what you witnessed in the healthcare field of what people have experienced and having those thoughts as if is my journey going to be like that person that went through it and didn't make it? Is my journey going to be a reoccurring situation? So I just want to commend you, Queen, and give you your flowers before we start with these questions,
Thank you.
because as you know, I like to dig deep. um, I'm not going to ask you those regular generic questions. I'm going to ask you questions that's really going to make you think and really talk about how those experiences and those moments felt. So my first question is, what was your first thought when you heard you have cancer? What is the first thing that popped into your mind when you heard those words?
The first thing was after, because they said cancer and then they said curative.
Mhm.
And I started giving God thanks because I said, God, you know what? You said I shall live and not die. And when I tell you, I gripped onto that curative. Yes,
Mhm.
it was cancer, but because, and I love my team for this, they said curative right afterwards. That's that's what I heard, and
Mhm.
I like just held on to that and just thanked God that it was. They said curable and not terminal.
Okay. So, my second question is, how do you deal with triggers? How do you deal with, you know, throughout this journey, we have our good days and we have
Mm-hmm.
our bad days. For me, I know it seems like, once it was my word, I was now part of this community. Everything around me was about cancer. Every TV show, every every movie, every new thing. Somebody in the storyline had cancer, and I'm like, really, this is what we doing right now. And then you hear about people passing from it every single day. So how do you deal with those emotions of having that internal connection to those things? How do you deal with those emotions? What steps do you take for yourself in those moments when you are having those vulnerable moments? Because it's like your reality is brought to surface again.
Right. Yeah. And it doesn't always happen like at one time.
Mhm.
Um, for me, it's happened after the second, well, I call it third part because I still had like a fourth and I'm on my fifth part. But the third part of my treatment, because going there physically to radiation and
Mhm.
chemotherapy, having the scans, and then going for internal radiation, high dose radiation for 2 weeks under anesthesia, y'all, under
Mhm.
anesthesia, propofol, Versed, fentanyl, every other day. I'm drugged up.
Mhm.
So I didn't have time to process because I was sleeping 20 hours a day when I wasn't in treatment. Um, but after that, probably I'd say about a week after that, wow. If it just hit me with a like all fell down, and I would
Mhm.
just cry. Part of it is chemotherapy. Yeah, you become very emotional. And the other, I started just thinking, like, wow, I don't even know how I went through it. How did I do that? And still not why me. And I don't think of anything as a trigger. I think like what pushes me to that moment that I want to cry. And
Mhm.
so having great children, Sasha Kil Kalik, friends like you, because you've heard me on the phone and you're like, so cry. My daughter's like, Ma, cry. She's like, go ahead, let it out. And that's what I would do. When I needed to, I would cry. But because I have that relationship with God, I always went back to, I mean, every day, no matter how painful it was, and Lord Jesus, it still is. Like riding in a
Mhm.
car, guys, it ain't fun all the time. I'm just saying. I I thank God. I wake up crying sometimes and just say,
Mhm.
thank you, God, because it could have been different. I could have responded different, but that journey with God, it didn't happen overnight. It did happen because, I was told cancer. Oh, I found God because no,
Mhm.
this look, God had been working on me extra hard since 2020 when we went in lockdown, quarantine. He was like, "Oh yeah, you run into church all the time. You're in this,
Mhm.
you're that. You're a part of this association, that association. Well, I need my time." And so I had to concentrate on just getting to know him and really relying on him. So by the time I got this diagnosis, I'm so used to it. It's like
Mhm.
knee jerk reaction. That's it. But he knows I still need my friends. I still need my family.
Mhm.
So when it hits, I allow it to come. I don't fight it because that just makes it harder.
Yep.
So I just let it roll. When I get emotional.
Mhm.
And I'm not the one, I'm not a crier. So that's the hardest one for me because I'm not a crier. I'm a tough New Yorker. All right. Black woman over here. What? Eat our nerves. All this crying stuff ain't working for me. But I understand in the therapist that, it's important just to let it out, decrease stress,
Mhm.
decrease blood pressure. You and I, we really cannot be stressed like that. It just does not work for our bodies.
Mhm.
So that's long answer, but that's it.
So I want to just remind you, it is important to cleanse the body. So cleansing the body means crying,
Right.
and it's part of the process. It's nothing to be ashamed about. You can have the ugly cry. It's okay. You could say it's allergy season. It's okay. you know, you know. I have jokes for everything. When you start stuttering your words, we are Sylvester the cat. It's okay. We all we're going to go through those phases, and those phases are going to be long term, and it's okay.
Right.
So, I want to ask you a more new experience. How does it feel to have a bald head?
Girl, let me tell you, life. What?
'Cause you see mine, right?
Yes,
Oh,
that's
I
exactly guys, that's how mine look. Okay. In fact, I came on and I did show it,
have.
but it's so freeing. It is
Mhm.
so freeing. And I do look cute in a bald head anyway. But I'm
Mhm.
just saying,
You do.
everybody doesn't. I have a peanut head, so that's what my grandparents used to call me, Peanut. But no, it feels good. And I wear my hair because that's what I like to do. And Dr. Gockley's like, yeah, you wear pink, purple, do all kind of colors, short bobs. She's like, have fun with it.
Mhm.
But can I tell you, my hair, my wigs, they stay. I don't have to worry about the braiding and this popping up and all that. No, it stays flat. Now, when I was coming home today, I I don't know. I guess I had to scratch my head or something. For like 10 seconds, I lost my mind while driving. I was like, what is this? There's no hair. I chemo brain. I forgot I had shaved my head. And that was tonight, guys. I said I had to share this. I'm rubbing up here like, what's going on? Because you're used to feeling hair under there where it's been
Mhm.
braided up. And I totally, I was like, what is this? And it's bald. And, because you become patches. And
Mhm.
that's something I had to get used to because Some places I have hair, it'll grow, and some places I don't.
Mhm.
And instead of freaking out over it, it's like, forget that. My son, I called my son's, my children's godmother. She's like, girl, I'll come over and shave your head. And I was like, oh, okay. And then Kalika was like, Mom, get your own clippers. And this way you just maintain it. And I was like, oh, all right. So, it's freedom,
Mhm.
right? It gives you so much freedom and also independence. And you have to have that. I can control this. I was shedding like a dog.
Mhm.
My hair was, some was straight, some was curlier. It was like crazy coloring coming in. It was a hot mess when it came out. So taking it, the horse, the by the reins, I
Mhm.
lose control. So
And that's
it's wonderful.
important.
It feels wonderful because y'all gonna see me in all kind of hair. I'm just saying, be ready.
That is important. I love the fact that made it clear. You take control of the areas that you can control.
Right.
Because in this journey, there's a lot of things that we can't control. We just have to accept. So remembering to take control of the areas that we can control. And I just want you to say you are a beautiful bald sister.
Yes, I is a beautiful ball sister.
Okay.
I'm just saying. Okay. I just saying. Put my little aloe vera gel on there.
So one last question, because I know we have a big day tomorrow.
Yes.
Um, how are you conquering the new you?
One step at a time.
Mm,
Instead of trying to take a big bite, I'm learning to take smaller bites. I also don't eat as much either because I can't handle my stomach. It's just like. But yeah, just one step at a time and not putting so much pressure on myself. Man, does that feel free? Does that feel good? Because I put a lot of pressure on myself. A
mhm.
lot. And now it's like, girl, please. Don't, no, we're not doing that today. Mm-mm. I I said, we're gonna make this cancer, we're gonna make it work for us.
Mhm.
So we have a big day tomorrow, Michelle and I, because we are getting on a plane going to Montgomery, Alabama. We're part of Herpreneur Network, founded by Dr. Nikki Ziegler. And I'm one of the headline speakers for the Her Cave. So you can go on my Facebook page and get the link and stuff. It's virtual because I know you may not be able to make it to Montgomery, Alabama on Saturday. Uh, let me tell you, being able to go, for my doctor saying, you know what, I'm going to clear you to go because this is for your business. This is helping you. It's going to help you mentally. I want to make sure that I do whatever it takes for you to go. You just have to take it easy, and look, I can't do but so much. So it's not a problem. I just have to keep reminding myself.
Yep.
But yeah, so I'm just taking it a little at a time. It was a little tough because I haven't been able to be on social media the way I want, but I'm coming back. I'm going to be guests on some podcasts. People are reaching out, so I'm excited. I'm in the Herpreneur magazine, an actual magazine. So, and look, Michelle and I will be doing. She's going to have me doing TikToks. We said, y'all just be
Mm,
ready. Be ready, okay? So we're gonna have fun with that, and I'll be able to also then, bring my books, my journals, and share with them. You can go on Amazon and get Boss Up with Confidence journal, the 30-day journal to help you gain back your confidence one step at a time. And guess what? This journal is what I'm doing.
mhm.
So as an expert confidence coach, and I'm not knocking anybody. I'm talking about Travis Michelle. And you're like, yeah, but you kind of doubt yourself a little bit if you're
Mhm.
human. I'm like, nah, you know what? No, I doubt myself because I had to put myself back through this WALK myself,
Yep.
and this is now. This is not from 25 million years ago. This is like what I'm going through now, right? I still have treatments I'm doing that I just now have to do to myself, and then we'll go on to the next. And, everything is a journey, everything is a step. So I'm learning to live life to the fullest now. I don't know what's promised tomorrow, but I know what's promised now, and I
Yep.
can laugh. So look, we both have our wheelchairs. As soon as we check in, we'll make it work. Chances, but man, we're making
That's
it work for
right.
us. Our doctors gave us a note. We're gonna have a wheelchair, so we don't have to wait on anybody's. I can't wait on nobody's TSA line. I'm not strong enough. I just can't. So I have my wheelchair. My son goes, Khalid says, Ma, don't forget your cane. I was like, you know, I'm vain. Why would I don't need no, I'm not bringing a cane. He's like, Mom, you're going to be in a wheelchair. We laughed for 10 minutes because we're very silly. He's like, I'm worried about a cane when I'll be sitting in a wheelchair. But,
Yep.
you know, you have to make it work for you.
Hmm.
And instead of woe is me and looking at it in a negative. That's right. I sure do. I go in and someone asks me, I was like, oh, well, you know, I'm a cancer patient, going through my journey, it's curable. And they're like, what? I got a free Brighton bag today. Yes, ma'am. I went in there looking for a pendant because I wanted the colors for cervical cancer is teal and white.
Hmm.
So I wanted to get a topaz, a clear topaz necklace to start
Hmm.
wearing. You know, I'll wear my pearls sometimes, but I want to wear that all the time. And she was like, "Oh my goodness, you look beautiful." I couldn't tell. You know, I had my dog on my back. It's the first time I've had him with me. It's the first time I was actually out. It's the second time, right, that I've
Yeah.
actually been able to be out of the house in 3 months, other than treatment. First time. And I was able to drive myself and get things done. First
Hmm.
time because I couldn't even really drive far. I could drive there and drive back, but like getting on a highway and really doing a long drive. And I'm a driver. I love to drive. And so I was so proud of myself. But I did go into Adidas and I'm blowing them up. Oh, I'm sorry. He's on my back in a backpack. We don't allow dogs. I said, oh, he's a service dog. And I do have paperwork for it, guys. Okay, I wasn't just saying it. And I said, I'm a cancer patient. He went and got this paper. He goes, so what service does he do for you? And I would have been like, what? Go ahead. You know, I looked at him. I said, well, as a cancer patient, I said, he helps me with my anxiety. And he was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Work it. I'm working you, cancer. You think you working me? Nah, boo. Not even. Nah, not this day. So that's how I turn it around into a positive.
Well, that's all the questions I have for you tonight.
Well, I thank you so
I
much,
want
guys. Let me tell you, this hour goes so quick. Thank you for listening to my story, everyone. And let me tell you, I called Michelle at 8 o'clock. I was like, Queen, I know it's this last minute, but you think you can come on and ask some questions? When I tell you she always has my back, like I wear my mask. Her daughter made my lanyard for my mask and the bracelet, which I popped. I don't know how, so I felt so bad.
to.
But I have two lanyards. She's like, "Oh, I got a T-shirt for you." I'm like, "What? What?" The things that she just does for me out of the kindness of her heart. And we're both here in New York City, but like we call each other anytime, all the time. She came into Herpreneur Network because of me. And now we're going down there together. Because my daughter, I didn't even think she thought about it. She's like, are you traveling by yourself? There's nobody else going? I was like, no, Michelle's going. She goes, oh, okay. How old am I? 2? But you know, it's nice that my daughter
Mhm.
wanted to make sure. Like, and guess what? I'm getting an Uber to the airport, and you know who's getting my Uber? Cleet. He already said I have a 7:05 pickup in the morning. I was like, okay, you know, I killed my oldest son. So what are you doing? And Christian, like all over, like TT, I have to talk to you and stuff. So it's just so wonderful. And I was able to see Ethan and Aubrey for the first time and hug them in 3 months, 3.5 months.
Mm,
And I'm just so proud of them. Ethan is going to have he's starting travel football.
okay.
So I said if he goes to like Connecticut, I can at least go there. When I'm tired, then I just come back home.
Hmm.
I can't travel to Maryland, Rhode Island. Normally, I'd be like, yeah, no problem. But you know, I do want to at least make one. Um, and then Aubrey she was teaching me some sign language. So
Okay.
she was like, this is God. And I was like, oh my goodness. And, you know, she taught me how to do my name. This was all just tonight. And I was just so proud of her. She's in 4th grade. Ethan is in 6th grade. She's also taking up boxing.
Mm, okay.
Yeah. And my oldest, Rain, is in college.
Mm.
So really proud of her. And Ethan is 3. I mean, Christian is 3 years old. And he's 3 going on like 15. Yeah, keeps me great. Keeps me straight. But you know what? We're here every Wednesday, 10
Mhm.
p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking about the ugly side of the backstory. I am so proud to say that next week we will have Dr. Chin and Dr. Gockley, as long as everything happens. They're doctors, but they are my medical team, and they are coming on the show. They knew about my book, they have copies of my journal and stuff. And Dr. Gockley said, you know what? When because the book came out in December, and she says, starting January, I'm going to spend more time with me. And she says, this book is right on time, this journal. And so did Dr. Chen. So I'm so excited to have them visit. And today I was interviewed, again, I will say it, by New York Presbyterian Columbia. Their public.
Woo-hoo!
Yes, so my story is going to be on the internet, on their website, and next month. So sharing my journey as a Black woman and cervical cancer survivor. So I'm really
Mhm.
excited, and so excited. Like, the doors are going to be open, speaking opportunities, so that I can help other people, because that's what we really need to do.
Mhm.
It's lacking. Not to say nothing against the breast cancer people, because they're queens and survivors, but they get the spotlight, and then there are others that they don't get a spotlight. And because we're so busy dealing with our own cancer diagnosis, we don't really want to talk about it, right? It's like,
Yep.
let's just go. Let's move on. Of course, I wanted to do that, but for me, I just have a strong passion for bringing awareness to women, and especially the women of color. That's the Latinx, Black women, Indian, Asian. Okay,
Definitely.
so
Definitely.
that's really, really important. But I am excited about being here. Please make sure that you continue to join the community. I don't like to say follow, but join my community on Instagram at Travis Michelle, LinkedIn. I'm working on it, so don't talk about the way it looks. Whatever. Done is better than perfect. I'm over here on my Instagram, my Facebook, and I'm working on my Twitter. Whatever. It just bees what it be. Okay.
Mhm.
Look, you know what? What you gonna do? What you gonna say? What? I'm working on it.
Mhm. A work in progress, but it's still getting done.
Exactly, a work in progress. And so, Michelle, I thank you so much for really being my friend, and popping in, um, like coming in and saying, "Hey, I got you." And she had her own class. She's in school too. And she's like, okay. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to give you the link. Pop in whenever you can. She's like, okay, you know. So I thank everybody for coming in. Please make sure that you share this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Um, Go ahead and join, what is it, like Late Night with Travis Michelle on Facebook. I have to start saying that too. I get so excited that there's some things I forget to say, plus this chemo brain. Told you got to use that cancer thing, right? Chemo brain.
Mhm. All the time.
So I thank you so much. Until next time, make sure that you make yourself a priority. It's important that we go to the doctor, queens. Kings, yes, you need to go as well. But I especially am talking right now to the women. You have to go to the doctor. And if you are afraid, the way I was, bring someone with you that you trust. Just squeeze two of their fingers so they have eight left, but so that they can hold your hand, so that they can be another set of ears, so that they can be your support. You don't have to do this all by yourself. And if you don't, if you could have moved to a city and you don't have friends or family, then share the information and let that nurse be that comfort for you while you're there. Okay. So thank you so much. Hey, you know who I always going to end. This is Travis Michelle. What? Come on now. I'm too much for something. Y'all figured that out, right? Because I'm all about just being me. Not enough for others. But guess what?
That's
Always, when I say always, I'm talking about always just right for me. So
mic drop.
until next time, be blessed. Good night.
Good night.